Yo, what is going on YouTube? Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. In this video, I'm just doing a highly requested video on how to build a cheap mining rig or buy, cheap mining rig parts. This is obviously a post-merge, Ethereum merge video. And obviously there's no GPUs and no tax included in this video, mainly because as of recording this video on October 12th, NVIDIA RTX 40 series dropped today and Intel Arc, the A770 dropped today. So yeah, like honestly, I don't think it's worth even buying GPUs at this point in time. The prices are still not looking too great, and obviously with the cards just dropping, you're not going to see a crazy drop off on the 30 series maybe yet. Only time will tell. But yeah, man, a lot of people were asking me about making this video, and I get this question asked like almost daily, like how do I get into mining? How do I just get a cheap rig and not have to spend like a crazy amount? During the bull market, I would say it was a terrible time, and now prices have been coming down. Honestly, you really can't go wrong with these prices. But before we get into the video, I just want to point out some disclaimers and things you should know before we start. Obviously, nothing I say in this video is like financial advice. You could use other parts if you want. I'm just going for a strict budget. There will be some optional things that I add in at the end. My main focus for this video was, if you come and see this video, pretty much I just want to show you products that you can get ASAP. I wanted to focus on you guys getting your parts ASAP, like AKA like tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, right? Like that's the type of products I want you to be able to like see that you can buy. Yes, I know that you can go purchase most of these products off Alibaba, AliExpress, eBay for maybe a little bit cheaper, but obviously there's a long wait. And pretty much what I've heard from a lot of the newer people, they're not really comfortable using those sites, and I totally respect that. So that's pretty much why I'm strictly just using like Amazon and Newegg, because obviously, like I said, so you can get your stuff as soon as possible, pretty much next day with these sites. And also keep in mind that prices change all the time. Things could get cheaper depending on where you live. Obviously, like if you live in Canada, USA, Europe, Asia. And also, it really depends on the time of me posting this video. I think by the time I post this video, it's pretty much to the end of like Amazon Prime Day deals and stuff. So just keep in mind, like the prices could go up, the prices could go down. I don't know. And I'm also based out of Canada, and so I'm going to be using Canadian prices and USD prices unless there's people from other countries requesting for other currencies. So just let me know if that's something that you want, but for now I'm just going to be sticking with Canada USD prices. And yeah, let's just get straight into the video, guys. So the first part we'll talk about is the 8 GPU mining frame, coming in at $22.99. You can purchase this 8 GPU mining frame on Amazon, and yeah, man, it's $22.99. I personally have a few of these. They're okay mining frames. I have a video comparing them to my 12 GPU mining frames, but in terms of like price, and also if you're one of those people that likes to DIY and build your own like mining frames, like honestly, coming at $22 with the price of lumber being super high right now, probably better off just buying this. I know that like a custom frame is always better, or the 12 GPU frame is better, but really you can't go wrong, especially if you're just trying to have like a starter build. Yeah, man, that's pretty much the frame, and you can pretty much get it next day or within the next few days, and it's fulfilled by Amazon. And also, one thing I totally forgot, as we're going, Amazon has like a 30-day hassle-free warranty, so pretty much you could use these products for like 29 days, and on the 29th day, if anything goes wrong, you can pretty much just contact Amazon and get a refund or a replacement, right? So that's another reason why I chose like Amazon and like Newegg, because they both have like 30-day like no hassle warranties. Anyways, the next part we'll look at is the motherboard, CPU, and CPU fan combo. Yes, I found a combo for all of that, and it's a B75 8 GPU mining motherboard, and coming in at the cost of $129.99. So this is also going to save you some time in terms of like building the rig, because the CPU already comes pre-installed. I don't know if the CPU fan comes pre-installed, but I have bought a bunch of versions of these where it comes with the CPU and it was already installed. And honestly, you don't even need the power switch, because the way that these are, I think they're already updated in the BIOS. As soon as you turn on your power supply, the motherboard just turns on. So but I do think they all come with like a power cable. I don't think it's pictured, but I think most of them do come with it. But yeah, man, you get your CPU and you get your CPU cooler. And also keep in mind, you can power this type of motherboard with if you're using ATX with obviously your CPU cable. But let's say you're using a server power supply, 6-pin PCIe cables to these two 6-pin ports right here. And yeah, you can just power motherboard from right here. You don't need to use a CPU cable if you're using server power supply. But yeah, that's definitely a very convenient thing. And obviously, like I said, it's just a bare bones mining motherboard. It's nothing fancy, very cheap. So yeah, man, that's the motherboard. And like I said, you're pretty much getting it all in one. And then the next thing we're going to need is some DDR3 RAM. We're going to go with the Patriot Signature 4GB coming in at $16.99. I think as soon as I I left the computer for a bit and it's already back up to $17.99. So honestly, $17.99 is not bad. You could probably even find 4GB DDR3 RAM like at local like computer recycling depots and stuff. Maybe even your friends have them. Like, they're very old, they're not worth much, but yeah, $17, very cheap and simple, and we'll keep it at that. So the next thing we're gonna have to get is the risers. So I can't even pronounce this name of this riser, but it's a 6-pack riser coming in at $39.99. And yeah, man, it's pretty much like the same ones that I have. I have the U-bit risers. They look exactly the same. They're both 4-capacitor risers, and yeah, they both have like the 6-pin options, and they have the Molex option. I highly suggest not using that, but yeah, it's power with the PCIe cables, and you can do it from the side or you can do it from the back. So that's pretty much the risers. And the next thing we're going to need is an SSD. So I chose the Silicon Power 128GB SSD, and it's coming in at $18.99. And I chose this SSD specifically because I do use it personally, and it's obviously like very cheap at $18, and it's pretty quick. Like, you can do a hard drive, but trust me, man, like I don't think you want to be waiting for like really long boot time. So yeah, I really can't go wrong with this one. Simple SSD. So yeah. And the next part we're going to go with is the power supply, and I chose the EVGA 1300 watt GT. And honestly, this really depends on like your situation and what GPUs you're purchasing or you have, right? Some come with like more VGA ports on the power supply, and some don't. So like splitters, you may need splitters, like, right? And also you have to remember the 80% rule when you're purchasing a power supply, and you also have to consider if you're using 120 volt or 240 volt. Right, and personally, myself, I stay within gold, platinum, and titanium power supplies. I don't have any titanium power supplies. I do have some platinum server power supplies, but most of my ATX are gold power supplies. So this one is coming in at $239.99, and you can get this from Newegg. Unfortunately, Amazon didn't really have any good prices. And you can see from this picture right here, there's only 6 VGA ports, so you're probably going to need some splitters depending on if you're going with like 3080s or 3070 Ti's, maybe even like 3090s. So that is something you definitely have to consider when using this. I would personally just stick with like the highest rated you can get if you're going ATX, like 1600 watt, because I have the 1600 watt variant of this and it has 9 VGA ports. So yeah, that's pretty much another thing. And also I do have an example for the newer people, so let me bring that up really quick. Okay, so this is pretty much a quick example just to like show you guys the 80% rule if you are purchasing a power supply of a certain wattage. So let's say we are going with that 1300 watt power supply. You pretty much just want to times it by 0.80, which is 80%, and it will give you the total watts that you can safely use and stay within that 80% rule. So you have 1040 watts to safely use on this specific 1300 watt power supply. So for example, let's say you have 5 3080s that are using 240 watts. Like I said, it's an example, mining Ravencoin, and that equals to 1200 watts, which means you are over the 80% rule, right? Let's say, okay, you're like, okay, like I'll pull a card off and I'll just use four 3080s instead. At 240 watts mining Ravencoin, that equals 960 watts, right? So that's less than 1040 watts. So you're obviously below that 80% rule, but you have to also consider the wattage for the other components, right? Like if you're using a monitor, if you're using like your motherboard and RAM and all that stuff, like the CPU fan, they all take watts. Obviously not much, but like that's definitely something you should consider. So hopefully that little example helps you guys and puts you guys on the right track, especially if you are a little bit newer. But yeah, So pretty much the total, I think it should be 469. Apologies, and 229 since the RAM went up a dollar. But let's just go with these numbers for now. It's total Canadian with the power supply for all of these parts comes to $468.94. And let's say you didn't want to get the power supply, I would probably just wait for a sale, to be honest. Like $239 is still pretty expensive. I've gotten 1600 watts for less than that brand new from UVGA, so definitely keep an eye out. But total Canadian without the power supply is $228.95, which is very cheap, right, to get all of this. Trust me, because I've built rigs during the bull run, and $228 would barely get you a motherboard and CPU. I think that would only get you a motherboard, to be honest, especially if you're going with like a gaming one, because those mining motherboards were pretty much like non-existent. They were not up for sale. They were pretty much all sold out when you were looking for them. So $228 is definitely not bad Canadian. The total USD value with the power supply comes to $339.91 USD. Still not bad, but the total USD without the power supply comes to $165.96, which is really cheap, man. $165 to pretty much get you everything you need aside from the power supply and obviously GPUs. That's really, really cheap. So it's definitely not a bad time, especially if you just want to have some things on standby if you're going to be acquiring GPUs. So yeah, man, definitely not bad. And I'm going to throw in some optional goodies that you can get. Like I said, I was going for budget with this video, but you could probably get a 12 GPU mining frame instead. Like I said, I prefer these over those 8 GPU mining frames. They're a lot more spacious, and you can put like dual ATX with no issues, where if you use this type of mining frame, you'll have a problem running dual ATX power supplies, especially if they're 1600 watt. But yeah, definitely not bad for like $20 more at $39. So it's definitely something you could consider. And yeah, I like I said, it's showing lowest price in 30 days as well. So like it's at an all-time low. When I was purchasing them, I think they were about like $140. So like pretty much $100 off since the bull run. Other thing that you could probably get is the USB to SSD adapter, coming in at $9.59. Currently on sale for the Prime exclusive deal. This is if you're gonna, well, you're probably gonna need one anyways, assuming that most people have these. That's why I didn't like mention it as like a mandatory thing. But if you don't, I would probably suggest getting one, especially if you're gonna be flashing Hive OS, Miner Stat, Simple Mining OS on there. So yeah, you're probably gonna need one of these if you don't have one already. But that's why I just put it as an optional thing, because you could probably even borrow it off a friend or someone if they have it. So yeah, that's another thing you could get. And obviously, if you want fancy risers, like I know the 4 capacitor risers are pretty ugly. They're not the nicest. They do have 2 like LED lights on them, but yeah, you can just like choose like the ones for like $10 more, and they have 10 capacitors, they have 8 capacitors, risers, and they have more RGB and stuff. So like obviously they're a little bit more money. Me personally, I don't really care. I just need them to work, so that's that's why. But it's an optional thing. Right, and obviously, as I mentioned, you may need PCIe splitters depending on the power supply, right? And you just go to gpurisers.com, and they have like their 6-pack of 18 gauge splitters, pretty much for $44. And yeah, for a 6-pack, it's really not bad. And you know, like I said, it depends. Like if you need them or not, you may need them. Depending on your power supply. So definitely another thing to consider. It's not like the most necessary thing. Obviously, if you want like fans for your mining frame and stuff, me personally, I don't buy any of those because haven't had the use for them yet. But yeah, you could definitely add those as well. So yeah, man, that's pretty much the video, guys. To pretty much conclude, like there's cheaper parts out there now. So it's definitely not a bad time to start accumulating some of these parts if you are looking into getting into mining. Like I said, you know, none of this financial advice. You can definitely like swap parts out if you don't like them. This is just a general example, and I will leave links for everything down below. Not sponsored, and none of those links will be affiliate links. I don't get anything from them. This is just for y'all, and hopefully it helps you guys out if you were looking to build a rig, or maybe even if you were someone that's not looking to, you know, build a mining rig. Maybe you were looking for like, you know, those cheap. A cheap 12 GPU mining frame, because like at $40 is really not bad, right? So yeah, or maybe you're looking for some SSDs or some other parts, right? So it's really not bad to consider, or you know, to keep an eye out for some of these parts if you are looking to expand. So yeah, man, that's pretty much a video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully it was a little bit educational for some of you guys, and hopefully it helps out the people that are always asking me for this video. So yeah, guys, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and I'm out, guys. Peace.